I'm here with Angie. We're at Austin Muscle Restoration. Today we're going to do part 2 of our 5-part video series on how anyone can get started on the exercise process and eventually progress to doing actual strength resistance training. Part 1 was all about visualization, and with that we were actually trying to visualize doing the exercise, because research shows that you can get a benefit from that similar to actually doing the exercise itself. Today we're going to do something called internal isometrics, and we're actually going to we're actually going to work on contracting the muscles and getting a sense of what that feels like. But we're going to do that with something called isometrics. That means there's little to no movement, so that minimizes the risk. The benefits of this are, number 1, it improves the communication between your brain and your neuromuscular system. When we're doing these contractions, we're actually working the muscles, so that can help on improving strength, force output. And plus, we want people, when they start exercising, to be very mindful and think about the muscles they're trying to challenge while they're doing the exercise, so there's that benefit as well. So if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, the first muscle we're going to try and challenge is the quadriceps, which is the large muscle on the top of the upper leg. So I've got Angie on the bench here, and her leg is extended out over that. And all I'm going to have her do is just think of trying to straighten that leg. And as she does that, these muscles should start to tense up. What she can do is put her hand sort of across the top there, and as she kind of gets that straightening, she should be able to feel that muscle kind of pushing up. A couple of things as you're doing this. Number 1, if it feels uncomfortable seated upright, what you can do is lean back a little bit. That should make it a little bit easier. The other thing is, want to be careful about how you're generating that tension in the muscle. If you start to feel pain or a cramping sensation, then stop and relax. We're doing too much there. Now for each of these, we're going to try and do it for about a 3-second hold and do 5 repetitions. Should be good.
Yeah, let's see where Rick's on.
Next, we're going to work on the muscles that bend the elbow. Most people think in terms of the biceps, but there are other muscles as well. This is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to have Angie bend that elbow as much as she comfortably can. And those guys are already going to start to contract just by her getting into that position. What she can do is take the opposite hand and put it right across there. And you can feel those guys push into there without you having to do too much. You can think of tensing up the upper arm a little bit as well. And just hold that 5 seconds, 3 repetitions. All right, next we're going to work on the muscles that straighten the elbow, and that's going to be your triceps. And I'm just going to have Angie kind of hang her arm down. She might maybe bring it a little bit behind her, and she's just going to try and straighten that arm as much as she comfortably can. Again, if you feel anything going on in the elbow joint or any pain or cramping, go ahead and stop. But she's just going to think like she's really trying to straighten that arm and hold that for like 5 seconds, doing 3 repetitions. And things will be happening on these guys back here. Next, we're going to do shoulder extension. I'm going to have Angie try to bring that arm back behind her as far as she comfortably can. Again, not to the point of cramping or discomfort. When she's back there, I want her to think about tensing the whole upper arm, and maybe even think of tensing up the shoulder blade on that side as well. And so you may get a little sensation in the tricep, but mainly what we're thinking about is these muscles back here behind the shoulder blade in the upper back. And again, we're going to do 5 repetitions, holding for 3 seconds each. All right, next we're going to do the shoulder flexors, and I'm going to have Angie bring her arm up to about shoulder level. We really don't want to take it too much higher than that. And once she does that, she can again think of tensing the upper arm, and as she puts her hand right above the top of her shoulder there and she tenses, she should be able to feel that contraction there. And again, if you feel any discomfort or cramping, stop. And we're going to do that 3 times for 5 seconds each. Next, we're going to work on the chest muscles. I'm going to have Angie bring her arms up to a little below shoulder level and bring them kind of close to each other, but not so that they're touching. And just that process of bringing the arms together, she should feel the chest muscles start to tense up. And as she kind of thinks of tensing the arms as she thinks of that inward force, that might help accentuate that sensation right there. And again, 3 times, 5 seconds each. All right, next we're going to focus on the calf muscles. So we've got Angie sitting on the table, but you can do this from a chair. And she's got the lower leg hanging over the bend in the knee a little bit, and I'm just going to have her kind of point the foot down towards the floor. And when she does that, she should feel those calf muscles start to tense up a little bit. And you can hold that for a few seconds. Now, if you get a cramping sensation, don't point the foot quite as much. Maybe back off of that a little bit. But do that and hold it 3 times for 5 seconds each. Okay, so now we're going to work on the muscles on the front of the lower leg. And with Angie on the bench here, on the table with her knee bent, I'm just going to have her pull her foot up towards her shin. Again, only as far as you don't feel too much tension on the backside there. And she's going to hold that. These are not very big muscles, so if she just starts to pull that up there, she should start to feel some tension there. If you feel too much of a stretch on the backside, just back off of this a little bit. 3 times, 5 seconds each. All right, next we're going to work on the trunk rotator. So I got Angie in a seated position, and she can kind of fold her arms so they're out of the way. I'm only going to have her turn as far as everything feels okay. She doesn't get any cramping or too much tension there. Once she gets to a comfortable end position, I just want you to imagine that she's trying to turn a little bit further, but she's not actually going anywhere. And that should help to get a sensation in all those trunk rotators. And we're going to do this 3 times, 5 seconds each, and also make sure we go in both directions. Next, we're going to work on the abdominals. This is pretty straightforward. Angie's sitting here on the table. I'm just going to have her put her hands across her abdominals and just think about pushing those muscles into her hands for 5 seconds and then relaxing. So hands across the abdominals, just think of pushing out into them, nothing too dramatic, and then relaxing. And that'll get those working. Next we're going to work on the hip extenders, which involves a lot of the glute. So we're going to start from a standing position. So I've got Angie holding onto the table. You could hold onto a chair or a counter or whatever. I'm just going to have her bring that leg back a little bit. It doesn't have to be too far because we're trying to focus on the hip extenders, not the lower back. And when she gets back there, she can just think of about tensing those glutes for about 5 seconds and then relax. And we'll do that 3 times. So it's not a big motion here because we're focusing on the hip, not the lower back. Now, if that's a little bit tricky for people who can't do that from a standing position, we can have her get on the bench. Similar to what we were doing with the hamstrings, with a bit of a bend in the knee, and think or imagine like you're trying to push down into the floor. And that can help to do that from a seated position if standing is too tricky.
Thank you for watching our video on internal isometrics, where we're just squeezing and contracting the muscles, no cramping involved. You're doing 3 repetitions for 5 seconds each. We wish you lots of luck, and we look forward to seeing you soon.